Yo, pass me one of those. Yeah, sure. Fuck knows if you can hear that, man. Hi guys, my name is Milan and welcome back to another video. As you can see, it has been a long time since I've released a video, but I have no excuse, so it doesn't matter. In today's video, you might be thinking, oh, is he going to talk about Zets?
Psych!
I don't have a premonition just yet, so it's fine. And I'm not going to talk. Marit is just looking at me disappointment. And I am not talking about Sentai and Gavan just yet. So instead, we're going back to our roots. I still want to go by what I said last time, and that is to finish Gabu. I finished the show, over a year and a half ago now since it came out. Nearly 2 years now since the show came out, I think. No, a year, I think. I am going to do this now a bit differently. Mainly because the show is split into 3 arcs, third one being the longest. But last time I spoke to you guys, it was talk about caking, which is still one of my favorite episodes in the whole show. Editor is just give me a nod of approval. I'm going to talk about 6 episodes today. We are going to start the second arc of the show. We are going to go to episode 20, and next time I will be here, I will talk about up until episode 28. Which is when Frappe Custom debuts. I think it's 28 or 27. Editor will correct me later in the edit. So, without further ado, I don't want to spend too much time, and also I don't want to do summaries of episodes because just read the wiki at that point, So, episode 15 to 16. This is the last 2 episodes before we start looking into Lage 9, as that is what we know of him in this part of the show. Shoma is reading some sort of book. Again, he's very interested in this human realm, and he wants to know about how people, the things that people do. And he asks Sachika about giving a gift to someone, what it particularly means in this part of the story that he read. And Sachika essentially tells him about the fact that it is not really the item itself that matters the most when you're giving a gift to someone. It's the meaning behind it, right? Like the what is your intention with this gift, and that is what should matter the most, especially when you care about someone. And so Shoma asks Sachika what she would like as a gift, and she says that she doesn't need anything, and instead he should give a gift to Hanto, as he's spending a lot of time with him recently. So because of this, he gives him the gochizo, the log gochizo. I forgot what it's called. And Hanto doesn't really have much of a reaction. And again, Shoma is just trying to think what would make Hanto happy. And you can kind of see that Hanto clearly appreciates his gift, but on the other hand, he's heavily focused into trying to find the Granutes. That is his main goal, that is his main aspiration right now. And so things like this don't really, I guess, cheer him up in a way, which kind of is quite upsetting to see. Like Hanto, it seems like a very decent guy, and because he's so focused on getting revenge for his mum, he's kind of just ignoring the fun things in life that he could be experiencing. So that's kind of what happens. And in this 2-parter, we meet again this monster of the week, the guy that's just busking about in Tokyo, and again, editor doesn't know this, but Stinger from Q Danger. I'll let one of my friends teach him about that one. Yeah, he's just busking about, and he's just trying to do some sort of act because Jeep is upset about Shita dying, and he's in this extremely depressive mood, like he doesn't want to talk to anyone. And so this guy, he's trying to say, "Oh, I'll do anything to get you to give me more dark infections and all this gibberish." He basically does this act where he pretends that he wants to leave the company, which is kind of funny knowing what's going to happen later in the show. But essentially, he tries to persuade Shoma to make him believe that he wants to leave the stomach company. Now, as Shoma is quite gullible, he wants to believe in this, as again, he is someone that left the stomach family and is trying to get revenge for his mum. Hanto is quite against this, obviously, because again, all that he knows of Granules is that they are bad people. And again, at this point in the show, he doesn't even know that Shoma is a Granute in the first place. Neither does he know that he's part of the Stomach family. And it kind of goes on a back and forth as to what is right and what is wrong. And again, the thing that I like about this show, even after I finished the show nearly a year ago now, I like the maturity of these characters. I love the way that they talk between each other, and it feels very sincere. It's not that they're just, shouting on top of another. They are not trying to make some big headache right between themselves. It's just two people trying to understand each other and trying to get their point across, and I think that's what I really enjoy about this show particularly. Anyway, if you couldn't have guessed already, the monster of the week was Bluffing, and he kidnapped Hanto, and Hanto basically became a damsel in distress. But throughout this two-parter, just what I want to mention is the fact that we see a bit more of Lage 9. Okay, he has been converted with a modified mouth, okay, Gavv, and he gets told by Nielf and Lango to start infiltrating the human realm and get product. Lage 9's ability, just his Granute ability, is the power of like a jelly to just like infect people, and this serum that he has inside of him essentially makes people extremely relaxed, which is quite convenient for the Stone family because the prime ingredient for the dark infections are overjoyed, happy humans. And so it makes it extremely easy for Lage 9 to capture these humans as he goes into random places. First time we see him in the human realm is in a courtroom. There's some guy just being jailed for, I don't know what it was, but he infiltrates the people, he hypnotizes them into feeling, happy and relaxed. Kind of like if you're high, to be honest. And then he just kidnaps them. And he gets a good stack of compressed humans, and even the familiar of Lango is quite impressed by the amount of people that he got in a short amount of time. And over time, we do see that Lage 9 has some alternate intentions. He's not just doing it so that he can get dark infections. He actually throws them away. I think in one episode, he even crushes it with his foot. So you can clearly see that his motive is not for the dark infections. And we will find that out by episode 18. And again, in the meantime, during this two-parter, Shoma tries to get himself kidnapped so that he could see Hanto and then get themselves out of the situation. And again, you can see that his monster of the week is trying so desperately to try get these dark infections from Jeep. He has Hanto lying on the corner there, and he says, "Oh my God, Lord Jeep, I have this guy, one of these troublemakers for our company. Am I gonna get rewarded?" And obviously, Jeep is just extremely upset by this because this is not Red Gavv. Alright, little Red Gavv right there. That's not him. Alright? It's just, you just see like the monster of the week just whining, be like, "Man, I just want these dark confections already, man. Give me some Kinder Bueno." Shoma and Hanto essentially have another conversation between each other. They basically apologize, because basically we realize that Hanto is trying to get to the world of the Granutes. He wants to find out about everything. He wants to understand why the Stomach family is doing what they are doing, and he's doing it for the sake of Shoma. And Shoma didn't realize this up until that point. And another thing that I want to mention before this actually is the fact that Sachika and Shoma have a pretty nice conversation between each other, and it is about the fact that Shoma is sorry. He wants to apologize to Hanto, and he did, but it kind of feels like Hanto didn't get the point across. And Sachika tells him, if you really feel that way, then that's fine. You just have to tell him next time, and hopefully he'll understand. The understanding of an apology is not immediate. It takes time, especially depending on the circumstance. I think that's a really nice point that Sachika made. But anyway, the episode ends off Shoma and Hanto having a brawl with the monster of the week, and Hanto gets the new form as well, which is pretty nice. Probably one of the better looking forms, but we don't really see it much. I think we maybe see it one more time after this episode, which is kind of unfortunate because Shoma only used it in one episode. That's essentially the way that this arc ends. We teasing the RAM system, Okay, Neob is basically finished after looking into some of the schematics that Dente has made over time, and we are now ready to move on to the second arc. Just a bit of a, I'm not, again, when I started doing these videos, I said that I'm not going to do a whole review of this show, so I'm just going to give my quick thoughts about this first arc. I said enough about the kicking part. It's just really amazing the way that Shoma, despite his hatred towards the family, he still wishes for a future where things would have been fine. Aside from that, I really like the development of these characters. They are very enjoyable, they're very mature, and over time, it's just fun. Characters interact with each other, and one by one, Shoma and Hanto are closer to getting their wishes come true. You know, Shoma feeling like he can be at peace in living in the human world, and Hanto being able to get some revenge for his mother that passed away. I think we should talk about the third important cast member, which is Lage 9, and this is when we begin the second arc. In this two-parter, basically 17 to 18, we look into this monster of the 2 weeks. I don't know, you know, it's kind of funny. We call it a monster of the week, but Gavv does a lot of two-parters actually, but it doesn't kind of feel like two-parter. You know, I've been just on a personal, I've been watching some Double. Double has extreme two-parters. Like, you genuinely feel like you have part 1 and part 2 of the story. With Gavv, it kind of feels like something similar to this, but it flows. I will say the cliffhangers in Gavv are quite horrendous. I'm not gonna lie. They make my fist pump and make me want to watch the next episode immediately. Yeah, we have this monster of 2 weeks where they are trying to get, again, the whole motif of the Dark Confections is they are humans that are filled with happy emotions, and in this circumstance, this monster of 2 weeks is trying to get humans that are extremely caring. The way that the Granute is doing this is that they are disguising themselves as some random lady who has their scarf being blown away by the wind, and that's the Granute's ability, and some random nice person is trying to grab it for them. They're giving a nice little gesture to the Granute saying, oh, you know, you dropped it, I caught it for you, and then the Granute's like, oh, nice. I did that. Anyway, yeah, so that's basically how the Granute gets the humans for their evil Dark Confection stuff. We also see in the background, again, Lage 9 is extremely efficient at acquiring compressed humans. It's actually quite impressive. He just walks in there, he injects all these people with his toxin that he has inside of his body, and then just accumulates an enormous amount of human compressions to the point where it kind of feels like he's trying to ask for a promotion in the span of like 2 days. Again, I rate the work ethic. By the end of episode 17, you know, Ram takes it upon his own hands to reveal himself to both Hanto and Shoma, and we see this transformation into Kamen Rider Ram. Just a bit of a touch on Kamen Rider Ram. I think he looks extremely cool. I love the design of the jelly being by the spoon, and those two spoons are then turned into the sides of the helmet. Okay, I think that's pretty cool. Lage 9 does not hold back whatsoever. He slides on them, he falls on top of like the building just to like deal some heavy blows onto them. He does have some aura, I'm not gonna lie. Like, he does not hold back whatsoever. I think it's quite cool. And he also, the thing that I like about Lage 9 as Ram is that he still utilizes his Granute abilities with, again, his toxins and his tentacles that he uses to attack both Hanto and Shoma. Again, he's very efficient, he knows what he's doing, and I just find him extremely entertaining as a result. Essentially, the two-parter ends up with Hanto and Shoma fight 2 groups. Anyway, Shoma is having a one-to-one with the monster of the week, and he defeats them, whereas Hanto is quite struggling against Lage 9. He gets dealt quite a heavy blow. It honestly looks like he's about to be on the verge of death, to be honest. And Shoma then takes it upon himself to take him to Sugar, and this is the first time that Shoma sees Sugar for, you know, he meets Sugar for the first time, and he is, you know, intrigued. You know, he doesn't know who this guy is whatsoever. Again, Sugar's being quite a sussy guy. We don't know what his whole plot is, alright, at this point. I mean, by the time that I'm recording this video, I know what he's up to, but I don't know. I'll never watch the show, okay? The next two-parter is essentially Rakia, that's the true name of Lage 9, trying to atone for his sins. And essentially what happens is Shoma tries to make Rakia understand that everything that he's doing, he's being deceived by the Stomach family. First of all, he's capturing these humans, and he basically tells him, if you want to do this and carry on being deceived by the Stomach family to just carry on doing their business, then feel free. Or you can actually understand what's going on and come with me, and hopefully you can help me out and help yourself out by trying to avenge for your brother. And essentially the backstory of Rakia is that he had a younger brother, Komel, and Komel used to be a part of the Stomach family. You can see the extent of the dark infections and how they impact the Granutes. I think this was like a very needed episode because we keep seeing, the humans being captured and the Granutes just being local, right? But what I like about this story is we see the heavy impact of the dark infections on the Granute. Komel is trying to desperately get some money. He's trying to desperately do anything just so that he can get more dark infections because it's extremely addictive for him. However, it leads to the point where Komel trying to, he gains some senses back. He slips up, and the Stomach family is not having any of it, and he gets killed. And obviously Rakia is extremely distraught by this. He is heartbroken, not being able to understand at all what happened to his brother. He just comes back after not seeing him for God knows how long, just for a big slash on the back to be the first thing that he sees. And yeah, he wants revenge, right? He wants to know what happened and to feel like his mind is at peace because, he misses his brother. The one thing that I really like, and this is episode 20, the last episode I'm going to talk about today, Shoma shows some area in Tokyo, and Rakia is just asking him, okay, well, why are you showing me this? Shoma explains to him, you see these people? These people are looking for the people that went missing. Those people that are missing are actually the people that you kidnapped. And Rakia says, well, I've not been here for that long. I didn't even know the human race existed until last week. Why should I care? And it's not until he sees one of the people just gets, just pushed over, trying to desperately find a clue as to where their son is. And he gets reminded of when he was in the Granute realm, when he was trying to find a way to find Komel. He was like, have you guys seen him? Do you know where he is? I need any sort of answers. And you can see Rakia was being pushed over like no one cared. And he feels some sort of relatability with this random human that he has never met. And he realizes that what he's done was wrong. He wants to atone. And he tells Shoma that unfortunately the compressed humans are now at the factory. And Shoma says there's still time, let's do something about it. We go back to the Granute realm. This is the first time Shoma has been back at the Granute realm since episode 1. They get back the compressed humans. Alright, what's the problem? Well, Glotta appears into the stage, and this is when she basically announces that what they're doing is not right, okay? We need more production, alright? And you're stealing the product. And Rakia then comes out and he says, well, fuck you, okay? I am getting revenge for my brother. I want to know what happened to him. And Glotta just basically says, who? Glotta just couldn't care less. And she just goes full on rampage, doesn't care at all. It's very entertaining. I do like the way that Glotta fights, just extremely happy-go-lucky. Just I like to fight, and she doesn't take this fight seriously in a way, because of how strong she is. She kind of just does this for fun, just to tease Shoma and to see how strong he has become. What happens then is Shoma does a finisher on Glotta. She's quite impressed. However, as she is about to leave, she talks about, Shoma being part of the Stomach family, which is a surprise to both Rakia and Hanto, who has just recovered and is now hearing this from Glotta. And this is where Hanto is extremely confused, utterly furious at Shoma, wondering why, one, he's a Granute, and two, he's a part of the Stomach family, the people that he is trying to kill. And Shoma he's shocked. He didn't want this to happen. He didn't want anyone to know that he's part of the Stomach family. Neither did he want anyone to know that he's a Granute. And on one hand, it is quite understandable, right? Again, like I said, episode 15 to 16, Shoma and Hanto have this extensive discussion about would he be able to trust a Granute? And Hanto says, no, I would not. I have an extreme disdain towards the Granute. And so Shoma is particularly, worried about revealing to him that he's a Granute. And as a result, he didn't say anything. But I think eventually he needed to say something, because now he has resolved to this point where Hanto is just done. He punches him and leaves. Raki is just kind of like, really? Like, you're one of the Stomach family? Like, what a headache. But yeah, I think the most important thing to get from the ending of that episode is just Hanto freaking out and feeling like he has, lost this bond between this guy that he has cared for. He's been helping him out. They've been helping each other out for the past few episodes, getting to know each other and trying to figure out how to solve this problem. And it feels like there's a lack of trust. And that's what I want to end it today, because after this episode we start getting into the bitter Gabu stuff, and I want to leave that for the other video, because this is when we're going to talk about Hanto extensively, and I feel like it's a bit unfair to just talk about this whole Hanto piece in another video. So yeah, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I say, because you should just watch the episodes yourself. Alright, so it's been quite the joy to talk about these episodes. Let me know what you guys think. And before I finish this video, because I don't want to make a separate video about this, I'm just going to quickly inform you all of the release schedule. 1, inconsistent. 2, this is the plan for the next upcoming weeks, depending on how much my edit is going to force me to record videos. Anyway, I am going to try to talk about 6 episodes each for Gabu, so that I can finally get to episode 50. Okay, that's the plan. It used to be 2 episodes, now we need to triple that amount so that we can catch up. Alright, I would like to talk about Zets, but I don't really want to talk about it in detail. I might just do a little bit of summary until Baku becomes Jesus, and then I will talk about Gojuja. I will do the Tokulook for the last episode only, because I don't like the show. And I will talk a little bit about Gavan as well, but I will say I'm a little bit behind because I've just been a bit busy. But that's just an update. And Skyrider. Anyway, guys, this has been an enjoyable talk. I will see you guys in the next video.